Welcome back to our Beatrice YouTube channel. In today's class, we'll be learning how to attach our crinoline neatly on our flounce or flare or wherever it is you need. You know, crinoline just gives structure to your flare or flounce, and it helps it to roll and curve neatly. So we'll be learning how to attach this using the hemming gum. So we'll be learning how to attach it the simplest and easiest way, and also a very neat way. If this is what you like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so for this method, I've drafted out a spiral. I'm using the spiral method to create my flounce, and I have several tutorials on how to do it already on the channel. So if you don't know how I achieved this, you may want to check them out. So now I placed I'm using this plain fabric for my lining, and then the ankara is going to be serving as my main fabric. So I'm just pinning them together so that I can cut both the ankara and the main fabric together. So I'm not creating too much flounce, I'm just using a little. So after pinning it together, now I'm going to be cutting my flounce off. Then after cutting it, we are going to be attaching our crinoline to this. Okay. So now I've cut out this flounce, and this is what it looks like. This is the lining, like I said, and I added a gum stay to the lining, and this is the main fabric. So I'll be working with this crinoline. This is about 2 inches length of crinoline, and to attach it, the special method I'll be using a gum stay to attach this so that it can lie really flat. So just watch carefully how I'm going to do it. So there are several methods of doing this. You can actually attach your gum stay to your lining first before sewing it to your fabric. So if you want to use that method, what you need to do is, I hope you can see this crinoline well. Okay, so I've switched this to a black color of crinoline so that we can see what I'm doing better. So now you can see this crinoline. Now if you want to, there are several ways you can do it. You can actually attach it with your lining first before turning it. So if you're going to be using that method, you prepare your crinoline by sewing this hemming gum on both sides of your crinoline so that it can stay in place for you. So after sewing it on both sides, you place it on your lining, but when placing it on your lining, you leave your seam allowance of 1/2 inch before you place your crinoline. You cannot place it like this. If you place it like this, you are going to sew your crinoline with it, and it may be difficult for you to bend. So you leave your seam allowance now, and then you place your crinoline, and then you use a very hot iron to attach it. But the second method I'm going to be doing is to first of all sew in my flounce before attaching the crinoline. So now I'm going to take this flounce now to the sewing machine now, and then I'm going to sew it round. Then after sewing it round, I'll bring it back to show us. And then for my crinoline, I'm going to prepare it by sewing the hemming gum on both sides of my crinoline. So I'll take this to the sewing machine now, and then start to sew my hemming gum. Then I'll bring both the crinoline and the flounce back to show us the next thing to do. Okay, now so I've sewn my crinoline. You can see the crinoline. I just sew it on both sides of the sewed the hemming gum, on both sides of the crinoline to hold it in place so that it will be easier for me to work with. And then I went ahead to sew my crinoline on this hemline round. So my flounce, I sewed the lining and the main flounce together. So now I'm going to remove my pins, and then I'll start to attach the crinoline to it. So this is actually a very simple method, and it is beginner friendly. Okay, so now I'll plug my iron. A steam iron is preferable, but I don't have a steam iron here presently, so I'll be working with this iron that I have. But the iron should be hot so that it can, because what we're trying to do is to melt this hemming gum together with the lining. I'm adding the hemming gum on the lining part of that's the one with the it with the gum stay. So what we want to do is just to melt this with our hot iron so that it can help us to gum this crinoline together with the lining. And I am going to be attaching it. That was why I said if you want to attach it to the lining separately, I'm not going to be attaching it inside the seam allowance that I've sewn. I'm going to be placing it a bit away from the seam allowance before I start attaching it. So now what I'm going to do now is to get this cloth, place it underneath it, and then I'm going to try to spread this out so that my lining is going to be away from my main fabric. Then after doing that, I'm going to be placing my crinoline on it. The part with the hemming gum is the one I'm going to be placing directly on the lining. Then after placing it like this, so you can actually do this before sewing your lining, but I just prefer to do it so that especially for beginners, so that you don't place your crinoline inside your seam allowance. So I want us to note that importance. That was why I decided to do it like this. So now after doing that, we're going to start to iron this so that it can melt it. Okay, so like I said, an hemming gum is preferable, a steam iron is preferable. I'll just be working with the one I have here. So once your iron is hot, you place it on it like this, and then you iron it gently until that hemming gum melts inside your crinoline. So you have to be careful not to burn your crinoline and your clothes. So see what I'm doing now. This is attached to it now, and you can see that it has gummed it. Okay, so this is our crinoline gum to it already. So I'm going to be attaching this all around my flounce. So you're going to be taking it in bits. You can even bend your flounce like this before it's easier for you. You may not decide to open it, you can still cover it up like this so that it can easily bend for you. And if the crinoline is quite hard, so but it is also stretchy and a bit elastic, so it will be easier for you to control it so that it can follow the flounce bend that you do, and then you iron it as you go. Okay, so you bend it and then you iron and make sure that it sticks. Once it sticks, you stop again, and then you try to control it with your hand again, and then bend it towards your flounce. So that is how we're going to continue to do it till we are done with our crinoline attachment. So you can see that the elasticity of the crinoline is allowing it to bend easily to follow the shape that we want it to follow. So you just try to control it with your hand also as you are going. You bend it, let it hold still, and then you place your hot iron. So you continue placing your hot iron like that, and then place it until it melts. Okay, once it melts, it's going to stick together. It's going to stick everything together. So I stopped my crinoline here, so I'm just going to cut it here. That's where the hemming gum stops, and then I'll stop the iron in there. So you're just going to bend it to follow the line that you have, and then you iron it. So you continue doing it like that till you reach the end point like I have done here. So now my crinoline is attached to you. You can see that it is gummed to hit permanently like this. See what I have is not opening. So after doing that, now you can notch this seam allowance. Remember, it's a curve so that it can easily fold. So I'm just notching the seam allowance. Then after notching the seam allowance round, you're going to be folding your, so you can see that it just folds easily because the crinoline did not enter into the seam allowance. So you just bend your main fabric now and then fold it. So it's going to fold and it's not going to be dragging your line. You can see that they still meet at the points where they're supposed to meet, and they are really neat. Okay, so this method is very neat and it is easy to follow. It's the easiest method I've tried so far. So after doing that, now you're going to be ironing your main fabric. Okay, if your iron is too hot now, depending on the type of fabric you're working with, you may want to reduce it. So you iron it flat, and then you are done with attaching your crinoline. So now you can attach this flounce wherever it is you want to attach it. Okay, you can see what we have now. See how flat it is lined for us, both on our main fabric and on our lining. And look at our crinoline inside is not shifting. The hemming gum has helped it stay together. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe to our channel. And if you have any difficulties in doing this, let us know in the comment section and we'll be happy to put you through. I hope you understand this, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.